I call this meeting of the Lee County Board of Education meeting on January what is today? January the 18th, right. The number on here on our agenda is throwing me off. So this meeting of January 18th, 2024 into session. We have made a change to our format. We will allow folks to sign up until we return from our closed session, which I will receive a motion now for us to go into closed session.
I move that the Lee County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, subsection A1, A3, and A6, to discuss confidential student information under North Carolina General Statute 115C-402, and to discuss confidential personnel information under North Carolina General Statute 115C-319 and 115C-321, and 143-318.11, subsection A8, for the purpose of reviewing safety components of the school improvement plans and to consult with the board's attorney and maintain the attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We declare we are in closed session. Call this meeting back into session, open session. This time I'll receive motion for our closed session, from our closed session. Second.
I think that's going to be at the end. We've got that
Oh.
down at the bottom. So we'll-
Oh, okay, it's not, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we just move on.
Silence.
Just a moment of silence.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, as we begin then, ask that we all take a moment of silence. Thank you. This time, I ask that we all stand as we have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, we have our vision and policy statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lee County Vision Statement. Lee County Schools, in partnership with the community, will provide challenging learning experiences for students in a safe and supportive environment. We are committed to academic excellence, technological innovations, social responsibility, and lifelong learning. Our success will be demonstrated by the achievement of our students and their positive participation in society.
And our code of ethics for school board members.
The board recognizes that collectively and individually, all members of the board must adhere to an accepted code of ethics in order to improve public education. Members of the Lee County Board of Education should, A, avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the board, B, avoid solicitation and/or acceptance of gifts in return for advice or assistance on matters concerning the operation of the business of the board, C, avoid the misuse of public funds, D, avoid misrepresentation or falsification of facts, and E, avoid making confidential information public. The board accepts the code of ethics established by the North Carolina School Boards Association.
Both. Receive a motion or approval of our agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we amend the agenda to add an item to new business, which would be item number 4, to discuss our board calendar and any updates that we need for our new meeting format.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. It is approved. As amended.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. All right. Okay, approval of minutes from our regular board meeting, December 12th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Thank you. They are approved. Now, again, things are a little different in how we're trying things, and so next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. So I'll be fairly brief this evening. First thing I did want to mention is that out of our public comments, it was brought to our attention about the appearance of the Hines Education Building. And I drove there the other day and pulled up and thought, wow. So commend those that were responsible for making that happen. It does look so much better, and we want to be a good neighbor, and I think we're moving in the right direction with that, so I do appreciate that. As during this time, preparing to be chair, one of the things that from the School of Government that I read was recommended that, and I don't think this is necessary for every single meeting, but what does it mean for individuals to come before this board in public comments? So this appears on our notification that goes out for every meeting, but I want to highlight it this evening so that we hear this, and this is not coming from any problem or any issue we've had, but again, it's a suggestion from the School of Government, and so I wanted to share that, which says, persons desiring to address the board will sign up at the meeting. The chairperson will allow 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 30 minutes for public comments. The sign-up sheet will include the name and address of the person wishing to address the board. If the individual is speaking on behalf of a group, the group will be identified. Materials to be presented to the board are to be submitted at the time the chair recognizes the speaker. The sign-up sheet will be placed in a manner to allow the citizens to sign up 30 minutes prior to the meeting and will be collected 5 minutes prior to the call of order of the meeting. To ensure an orderly presentation and disposition of items, board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Information received during presentations shall not be acted upon at the meeting it is received. However, the above provision may be waived by unanimous vote of the board. Public comment shall not interfere with the board's duty to conduct orderly and efficient meetings. Individuals who address the board shall not use language that is obscene, vulgar, contains fighting words, or otherwise disrupts the orderly conduct of business. Discussions regarding particular employees, litigation, student records, or other potentially confidential matters may not be discussed during the public comment session. Persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause disturbances at official meetings of the board may be directed to leave by the board chair. The board chair shall determine whether matters of discussion are inconsistent with these restrictions or other requirements for public comment and may rule the speaker out of order if necessary. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting shall be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318-17. And so, again, this was not coming out of anything at all specifically, but as a reminder for all of us. And it hasn't been done since I've been on the boards, so I wanted to share that tonight. The other thing is to talk about where we are on some things that we are working on as a board, and some of this might be taking part of your report, but I'll try to stay away from those areas. We are moving forward in several different areas. We have our staffing study back. Our salary study is coming, and the board is continuing to work on things that are part of our performance audit that relate directly to the board. And again, just to say, we are trying something new and how we're approaching our meetings to consolidate things a little bit, but that'll be enough for me for this time. So I turn this over to our superintendent for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First thing I'd like to talk about is something that the chair just mentioned, talking about the Evergreen Performance Audit. Our staff does continue to work on that. I think it's important to note that while quite a bit of progress has been made and will continue to be made, there are many recommendations within there, specifically within the curriculum and instruction piece, that will take years to come to fruition. So it doesn't mean we're not working on it, but it will take some time. Just as a quick update, there were 97 findings in the original report. As of this meeting, we have already completed 55% of those, or 54 of the 97, and we are continuing to work on that. We have 33 that are still in progress, and we will continue to work towards those. Also, since July 1, we have added 18 regulations to our policy manual to make life easier, hopefully for everyone, and we will continue to review those each month. The second thing, each December, the North Carolina State Board of Education and the Department of Public Instruction recognize schools throughout the state that have met or exceeded academic growth during the previous school year. They also recognize any schools throughout the state who have performed well above their peers. This year, 7 of our schools earned recognition, and we would like to present them with their official certificates from the state board and take a moment to recognize their hard work. And that's the hard work of their students, staff, and administration. When your school is called, we ask that you, the school principal or the school representative or both, please come to the podium and remain up front. We will begin, I don't think she's able to join us, but I do want to recognize her publicly and her school. A certificate of achievement is awarded to top schools throughout the state who outperform their peers in all tested areas, as well as a graduation rate that is above 95%. And this year, Lee Early College was awarded the Certificate of Achievement from the Department of Public Instruction. Ms. Timberlake, the principal, was unable to join us tonight due to the rescheduled meeting, but we will certainly get this certificate to her, and we appreciate all the hard work they do at Lee Early College. Next, we will recognize 2 schools in the district with the Exceeded Academic Growth Award, and those awards go to Deep River Elementary School and Lee Early College. You stay right up here, Ms. Lundy. For those of you that do not know, this is the second recognition that Deep River has received today. Earlier this morning, from the Lee County Education Foundation, they received the head of class, so well-deserved again. So you just stay right up here for a little bit. Finally, we recognize 5 schools with the Academic Growth Award. Those schools are Eastleigh Middle School, J.R. Ingram Elementary School, Sandley Middle School, Tramway Elementary School, and W.B. Wicker Elementary School. Each of these schools and their staff are to be applauded for their hard work this last school year, and I want to publicly recognize the principals who are leading those schools and who are with us tonight. So, of course, we have Miss Amy Lundy from Deep River, Mr. Robert Newby from Eastleigh Middle, Ms. Brewer from J.R. Ingram, and Dr. Natalie Kelly from San Lee. And I also want to make note, because she was the principal at Ingram last year, Dr. Lisa Duffy, who is now in a different position with the district, but you are equally as deserving of this recognition. So congratulations to you all, and I look forward to giving this award out again next year to even more of your colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you all.
January is School Board Appreciation Month, and we wanted to take a few moments to thank each of you for your service to the school district. We celebrate each of you for your commitment to making Lee County schools a better place to work and learn. To express our gratitude, we would like to present each of you with a small token of appreciation, a stylish district-branded shirt that you can wear with pride as you visit our schools throughout the year, or grocery shopping, or wherever else you want to go to advertise what a great school district that we have. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for believing in me and giving me a chance, and for all that you do for our students. So thank you. The last thing on my report, I want to address the stadium at Lee County High School and where we are at this point, because I know that there are lots of questions. I know it may seem when you drive by that there's not a lot going on because you don't see construction, you don't see a whole lot, but I can assure you that we are following a lot of guidance and recommendations of engineers, and I'm learning that this is just a very slow process. We have had 2 different engineers inspect because we wanted varying opinions to make sure we were going the right way on both the home and visitor side of the stadium. Their thoughts on a fix differed a little, but both had 2 similar recommendations. Number 1, the stadium needed to remain closed due to the cracks observed, and number 2, the need for testing on the concrete so that engineers had a better idea of what was actually inside the concrete and whether or not what was inside matched the blueprints. So over Christmas break, that testing did take place, and a completed report was sent to both engineers. From those reports, there was a request from one engineer for some additional testing. And I want to talk about that for just a moment, because that's what we're going into next. The primary reason for additional testing is to determine whether or not a temporary fix may be possible so that we can hold spring athletic events and graduation in May. The additional testing consists of several things. First, they want to conduct testing to determine if a reaction is taking place within the aging concrete. This will determine whether or not a temporary fix is even an option as we move forward. These results will be immediate and will tell us whether or not we move forward with additional testing. and this testing is scheduled to take place next week. Based on those results, additional testing will be conducted to determine the condition of rebar within the concrete and to see how much rust or corrosion may exist. The strength of the concrete supports to determine the weight capacity, if any, can be loaded to the stadium will also be tested. And in other words, if this first test shows that there is no reaction taking place that would cause the concrete to disintegrate under pressure, it's possible to use a certain portion of the stadium, and they would help us determine, for example, could we use the first 10 rows up? Could we use the last 3 sections? Because the results of the first test are immediate, if results show that that is a possibility, they will immediately do those tests while they are on site. However, the turnaround time for those particular tests are around a week. So we are continuing to work. We remain hopeful that we will be able to hold athletic events and graduation. We are seeking alternate sites just in case, but just know that we are following the recommendations of engineers. I am not an engineer, and I'm not going to pretend to know all the intricacies that are going on, but we are following their guidance, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we get back in that stadium just as soon as possible. But the main concern is when we do, we have to be safe. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Again, we want to try to keep everyone informed, and if we over-communicate, well, how much is too much? So we want to keep you all informed about what is going on. And as I said last time, so much of the work of the board does take place in committees, and we'll hear from them in just a moment. But it's time now for our public comment. We have one individual that has signed up, Mr. Jermaine White.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chairman Davidson, Vice Chair Womack in her absence, Superintendent Dotson-Bach, and members of the board. I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank a few people for inspiring my kindergartner and creating an atmosphere of learning where he is thriving. I'm very grateful for Principal Cummings, Dr. Hilton, Mrs. Eller, Mrs. Cole, Mrs. Bussey, Mrs. Calandro at Tramway Elementary for their caring and thoughtfulness since my son became a Tiger Shark this year. As an educator, I can't say enough good things about the culture at Tramway. There has never been a time when I've been in the school where I have not been greeted with a smile or asked if I needed assistance, and for that I am thankful. I want to take this time to challenge other parents who are having similar experiences with their children to take the time to publicly thank the educators who are positively affecting your students' lives. Sometimes the best way to recruit and retain is reminding the people on the front lines how special they are. Thank you, Tramway, for providing this dad peace of mind every day when it comes to my main man. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
We love to hear that. And I second that motion. Other parents share the good things that are happening. And I do too want to say thank you to all of our staff, teachers, all those that make things happen. You are appreciated by this board, and we hope you know that. So thank you. This time we will have the items that are on our agenda. Financial report. There is no report. Okay, that one was easy. Our board attorney report. No report. We move him up here and he still has nothing to do, so I don't know. We'll see what we can do about that. We do have committee reports that are going to be shared tonight. Curriculum and Instruction has not had a meeting. Ms. Womack is not able to be here tonight. We miss her, and we're thinking and praying about her, with her. Also, Facilities and Technology. Mr. Ladade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a special call meeting to review the capital improvement long-term plan, which we have on new business. So I'm not going to speak too much about it, but I did want to just thank everyone for participating in that. Just logistically, I think In the past, we've done a 3-year plan. This year, we've got a 7-year plan and beyond, which is pretty exciting, and there's a lot of thought that went into it by a lot of folks, and I don't want to risk leaving anyone out by trying mentioning names, but we'll talk more about that in the when we get to new business. And I was just about to look up our next meeting for January.
23rd.
January the
Tuesday.
23rd. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. Next meeting will be January 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. Ladate. A lot of work you've been doing in your committee. Thank you for that. Finance has not had a meeting.
I had a couple things, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
We did not have a meeting in December, but I just wanted to
did.
highlight a couple things.
Called meeting.
Yep, no worries. So we did have our regular meeting with the commissioners in December, so that's a continuation of that monthly budget discussion. We gave them a brief update on ADM, some capital accounts and projects, and shared key areas that we plan to focus on for the 24-25 budget. Those meetings will continue as we come into budget season, and I will provide the board with updates that come out of that and any questions that we need to discuss as a board. I also had an opportunity to meet with the mayor, city planner, and city manager to discuss the topic of funding, municipal funding that came from our review of the low-performing school improvement plans. That was kind of a personal action item as Finance Committee Chair. I would say, so that meeting was primarily to just explain to them kind of where we are as a school district and what benefits I thought we could get from municipal funding, should it be provided, and really just relationship building. So there was no specific action taken as a result of that meeting, but the city did express interest in partnering with the school system on initiatives to help with staff recruiting and retention when those opportunities arise. The only other reminder I had for the board was just keep in mind that our budget working sessions will be in February this year as opposed to March. So those are coming up a little earlier than normal. And then just the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for January 25th at 5 p.m. in the Heinz Education Building. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rummel. Mr. Gaster, do you have anything you wanted to share this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Even though we didn't have a policy meeting in December, we had one this past Tuesday on the 16th. And those minutes will be in our February meeting. But I just wanted to advise the board and the public that we did bring for review the concerns of a parent to the committee for review of those policies. And we'll have more discussion on those in February. Thank you.
Mr. Gaster.
Mr. Chair, I do have the date for the next curriculum and
Thank you.
instruction meeting in the absence of Ms. Womack. The meeting is scheduled for 7 February, and it's at Deep River Elementary School. We're going to get a lot of visits out at Deep River. I hope they're ready for us.
And I need to add one thing, too.
Absolutely.
You reminded me. Our next policy committee meeting is February the 20th at 5 p.m. at the Heinz Education Building.
And all this information is available on the school's website. If you did miss a date, we invite you to come to our committee meetings. You'll learn a lot. You really will. These folks are working. We'll move on to the approval of our consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That is approved. We have no unfinished business, so moving right into our new business, 2023-24 budget amendment. Ms. Jones, got you up here eventually.
Yes. Mr. Chair and members of the board, you have before you a budget amendment for local current expense for $30,000. Just to update the board, back in September, we did do a budget amendment for the remaining funds that we had, went back and assessed the Board of Education, the funds that had been unspent for prior years. We knew that the studies that the board approved were going to exceed that amount, but we wanted to wait because the board had not yet approved all of those plans, so we wanted to kind of let the numbers fall out. We are getting to that point. We need to do a budget amendment, so that's what this budget amendment is for.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. That is approved. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Our board policy second reading, Mr. Gaster.
Thank you.
Things move quickly.
Yeah, well, I was, anyway.
Yeah.
So I recommend that the board approve the following policies for second reading. Excuse me, policy 3400, evaluation of student progress in final exams, policy 4040/7310, staff-student relations, policy 4240/7312, child abuse and related threats to child safety, policy 4318, use of wireless communications and other electronic devices, policy 4342, student services, policy 6315, drivers, policy 7232, discrimination and harassment in the workplace, policy 7501, employee attendance, and policy 7510, leave.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve that second reading?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions, discussion?
Was any, it's hard to see, was any blue, any changes we did, or all this come from the state?
The majority of the changes are required by state action. I was looking real quickly just to see if there's anything specific that we had.
In the wireless communication for students and everything, that's where we took was it Granville County? Mm-hmm. We took Granville County's policy and Lee County's policy, and we meshed them together to give it more teeth for the staff to be able to control electronic devices in the school system. So that was one of the major ones that we talked about.
There was one specific change that was requested on behalf of administration at the middle school level. Is initially the policy said that cell phones would be restricted from use from first bell until last bell, and the request was made that we say from arrival on campus, because the breakfast hour and so forth, it is technically before the first bell. They wanted to be able to say that you just weren't to use that cell phone from the time you arrived on campus until last bell. And so that would have been an internal Lee County modification of the policies.
Point of information, if I may, about policy 4318, the use of wireless communication and other electronic devices. Just want the board to be aware that because some of these changes will change the processes currently in place at schools, just want you to know, if approved tonight, we will immediately begin working with school administrators on how we're going to quickly implement those changes, but just know that it may not take place tomorrow, because we will have to put some procedures in place, make sure that parents are aware, make sure that we communicate clearly with students so that we don't cause any major issues down the road.
Mr. Chair, if I may also, I wanted to say a couple things on that same policy, the 4318, the use of wireless communication devices. So I think all of us are aware, you could read pretty much any study about the harms that social media has on our youth. There's, bullying, harassment, self-esteem issues, and I think we did some work as a board to address that via access in our Wi-Fi system. There's also a lot of information that everybody can find about mental health issues that rise from excessive screen time, lack of physical social interaction, getting away from those screens, and also disruption in class that can come from cell phones and other devices. So I think that the changes in this policy will help kind of clear those things up and address the learning environment. And I think really that the changes in this policy are the Lee County school system acting on those issues that we all know exist, and doing our part to do what's best for our students when they're within our care. So I think Mr. Gaster noted also, but we did do some benchmarking with Granville County to understand some of the things that they did with the rollout and the feedback that they received. And to date, my understanding is that it's been almost all positive from faculty especially, and even limited complaints from families and students and parents. I personally I have to assume there's going to be some heartburn, whether it's from kids that can't use their phones like they used to perhaps, or parents that think they should have access. But at the end of the day, for me, I think that this policy change is going to have a big impact on improving our learning environment, and I think we'll see tangible results. So appreciate the work that Policy Committee did there.
Absolutely. Any other comments, discussion?
I have one very briefly, and that is, there's not a single middle schooler that I'm aware of that is paying for their own cell phone. So parents, it's as much you as it is the student's responsibility to control those cell phone uses in schools. And so there's not a kid that needs a cell phone in middle school that I'm aware of. And parents, you're paying for them. Those are your cell phones. And if it's causing a problem for your student, for your teacher, or for their academics, you can take them. I hope my kids are listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Board, for those comments. And we have heard, we have seen the disruption that is caused, and we're trying to make an effort to address that in a positive way so that our schools, our teachers are able to teach instead of telling students to put away their phones 500 times a day. And that's not necessarily great exaggeration, but it is taking a lot of time. One of the pushbacks we've heard has to do with if there is, heaven forbid, a crisis situation in our school, the teacher has a phone. So they will be able to communicate. And we have heard from law enforcement that many times that hinders what is needing to take place when those not fully descriptive, accurate statements are being made. So it causes confusion in a crisis situation. So we do believe that this is for the good of everybody, and we hope it's going to make a positive difference. Any other comments? All right. Where were we? Did we even? We do have a motion and a second. That's right. Thank you. All those in favor of this of second reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. It is passed. Now we move to our 2025 to 2030 Lee County Schools Capital Improvement Plan. Mr. Ladati, he's been excited to be able to share this with us. So this is your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Board members, you have in your packets the capital improvement plan for 2025 through 2030. As I mentioned before, it's a 7-year and beyond plan, which is a little bit more in depth than what we've had in the past. And that was number one, because it's a good idea, but number two, it was one of the things, one of the concerns the county commissioners had raised with us when we've had our ongoing budget discussions. You'll notice for next year, the main items are the auditoriums and the bus garage. The double asterisk next to the auditoriums, those are our two projects that we put in for state grant money last, I think we talked about that last meeting. And the bus garage, we were not able to submit for state grant funds, so that'll be hopefully the only, other than the 5% match for the auditoriums, hopefully the only project that we request from the county commissioners this year. Also for 2026, you'll see that we requested for East Lee Middle School, West Lee Middle School gym expansion, which is making those gyms a little bit more than 4 feet at the end of every baseline, so that kids aren't literally bouncing off walls when they play basketball in there, and a couple of classrooms, I believe, as well. Another item I'll point out is in 2026, you'll see the Southern Lee High School chiller replacement. Those items prior to this year were not on the capital improvement plan. Those were items that we took care of with lottery funds. Again, in our discussions with county commissioners, it was preferred to carry a smaller lottery fund balance and to put these larger ticket items, maintenance items, on the capital improvement plan. So we're trying to be good team members and do that. And then in 2027, you'll see a new elementary school. We have, I would say, quite a few students in mobile classrooms at the moment. So that's when we expect 22 mobile classrooms at the moment, or mobile pods. So we expect, based off some numbers from the county and from the city, that might be a time that we would need to expand our elementary schools and add an 8th elementary school. And then again, on 2028, you'll see a Lee Early College permanent facility. We've been talking to the community college about that. There are some plans to move into the more,
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson, when the Wilkinson folks move
Vacates.
into the Moore Center, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's 2028, and we did add an item for Lee County High School Stadium there on 2028. Pending testing, I guess, is probably the best thing we can say on that. I know that's a long ways out, but we'll see how that shakes out here in the next month or so. Middle school in 2029, which will hopefully be, if we're making a wish list, that would be a dual site location for elementary and middle school on the same site. Similar to, I guess, a good example would be Wesley and J.R. Ingram, as they're pretty close together. And then 2030 would be high school capacity expansion. I think that's based on numbers we're getting from the county and the city. And then beyond would be renovations to Bragg Street. I think that's about a 30-year-old, 40-year-old facility with very minimal maintenance and upkeep. And so we wanted to have that represented on the plan as well.
Any questions or comments?
I have a couple.
Yes, sir.
We'll start off with the bus garage. When it comes to that, there was discussions with the county about it housing some of their vehicles as well. What kind of expectations would we have with the county if we're housing their vehicles, and how much of that space would be truly ours? Are they expecting our mechanics to work on their vehicles? I mean, is there any kind of that discussion being taking place?
We have not had those discussions yet in any formal capacity. So I know that's been mentioned as a possibility, and I guess I think the best way to describe that was it'd be a bargaining chip. Would you agree with that? Okay.
Yep. Then my next question goes to the land purchase for the elementary school and the middle school, and then kind of ties into expanding the high schools. If we expand the high schools, where are we going to go? We're kind of landlocked, are we not, with our high schools? Would it be smart to go ahead and purchase enough land on that multi-site for a third school as well? So I just want to throw that out there. I mean, it says that we're going to expand our high schools. I mean, I'm just trying to think about how we're going to expand them, and would it be possible just to think ahead and already having big enough land for maybe 3 schools instead of 2?
Yeah, I think we would not discount that idea. I think the guidance for elementary and middle school would be somewhere around 80 acres. If you had an elementary, middle, and high school, it would be somewhere around 150 acres, and I'm not exactly sure how many big tracts of land that have access to water and sewer are available to us. So that's why we were thinking, that was one reason why we were thinking elementary and middle school. Another reason we were thinking is just to be an attempt to be fiscally responsible. We could, obviously, Lee County High School had at one point 2,500 kids. Right now, I believe it has about 1,800 kids. So there's certainly the ability to have, I guess, more room for expansion for house more students on Lee County High School. And Southern Lee High School, I believe the original plans, or there was some plans baked in for an additional wing, which I believe is where we're putting our mobile classroom right now. So we've got room on our current footprint to sort of expand those. Of course, you have to think about the cafeteria expansion to be able to have enough lunches for everything in the cafeteria. We talked about that in our meetings. Cafeteria on Southern Lee High School is on the front of the building, so that could be expanded. Of course, the cafeteria at Lee County High School already supported 2,500 kids at one point, and we didn't shrink it. So I think that could support additional kids there as well for the high schools. And one other thing I will mention is that we did talk about increasing capacity at Lee Early College when they moved to a permanent facility. I think right now they have about 400 kids, 450 kids, somewhere around there. There is a limit on the early college enrollment, and I believe it's about 600, so we wouldn't get a huge gain from expanding that capacity, but there would be a little bit of room there to sort of accommodate some more kids as well.
I had one county commissioner ask me, would it be possible if we did any redistricting in the coming years to kind of spread it out? So, and I'm not asking for an answer on that now, but I know that's in the back of some of their minds as well.
Yeah, and I think on that specific one, Patrick, so we've got some data available that shows kind of current school capacity versus enrollment, and then coupled that with the county information on growth and where exactly that's happening. So I think we have it on the radar. I'd say at this point in time, I don't know that we have enough to shift to affect it much, but, certainly, obviously, when we get into a new construction, we would have to district anyway, but I definitely wouldn't take it off the table, yeah.
I would add just to say that we're looking at all possibilities. We're thinking outside the box in some ways, and so we are definitely having discussions with various people. Thank you for those questions, Mr. Kelly. We appreciate that, and we're working hard and thinking ahead about what are some things we can do to be able to grow with our county, because we know that growth is here, growth is coming, and we are trying to anticipate that as best we can. Other comments, questions from anyone?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. No further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to make a comment, I mean, I think in December, we talked about, before we had this plan ready, and we had just talked about with the applications for some state grant funding, and that we wanted to bring a plan to the county that didn't change priority for those projects and didn't take those off the list. And I just think this does a good job of laying out what our priorities are. We're still requesting this funding for these projects specifically from the county. Should they be funded by grant money, that's great. But then that also provides the county with the additional list of items that we would like to see funded. So I just, I appreciate F&T committee, all the folks that put this together, because I think this positions us well to move forward with capital spending.
Absolutely. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. It passes. Our personnel report.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to approve the one-year teacher contract, the four-year administrator contract, and the human resources report as presented. I'm sorry, let me correct it. I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the four-year administrator contract, the one-year teacher contract as amended, and the human resources report as submitted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And then an amendment, Mr. Ladate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we just need to formalize this new meeting process that we've sort of tried out today. And so this will be a new business item to amend any policies or any documentation to match the new meeting format going forward.
I think it's the 5:30 start time
Right, so you would just-
specifically.
Specifically.
You would just need a motion to amend your board calendar to move to the 5:30 start time for closed session, and then after that's approved, that'll be posted on your website and things going forward. And the statute requires 7 days' notice, so we're outside of that for the February meeting. It can start in February.
Second.
Second, motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It does pass.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.